Mr President, the Libertarian Party opposes the Housing Amendment Bill 2025. Once again, this government has shown it simply lacks faith in free enterprise. Despite a century of failed socialist experiments, this government has decided to embrace building by bureaucracy, rather than the proven innovation and success of the free market. This bill is yet another attempt to interfere in the housing market rather than getting out of the way. This is a sector already smothered with red tape and mounting upfront costs, and this latest market distortion will fail the standard metrics of cost, time and quality. The only upside of spending $5 billion in taxpayer funds is that it creates the illusion that the government is doing something to solve a genuine problem, a problem made worse by attempts to keep throwing taxpayers' money at it. All around the world, government-owned housing has a record of decay. When people are giving housing for free, they do not feel pride of ownership and so care less for the upkeep of the property and its surrounds. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was on the right track when she introduced the right to buy policy, which let the tenants of public housing to buy their home at a discounted rate. 2 million people became homeowners via that policy and gave them the satisfaction of being a stakeholder in the nation. This bill grants the government access to $5 billion. Well, the $5 billion was taken off the taxpayers first and then recycled through the bureaucracy and now given to the ministers to spend on what they want. So this bill grants the government access to $5 billion provided by the taxpayers in the 2024-25 New South Wales budget in order for Homes New South Wales to act as a property developer. And more dangerously, Schedule 1, Section 35C contains the powers to make compulsory acquisitions over private property to build residential developments. I'll be moving an amendment shortly to remove Schedule 1, Section 35C, and even then I would urge members not to support this bill. We have plenty of property developers in this state who are more than happy to build what we need, and what we need is to get the government out of the way and allow for the free market to provide cost-efficient products delivered faster. What this bill really does, Mr President, is expand government control over land use and property development while sabotaging private sector investment due to a government property developer with a huge pool of taxpayer funds. If we were serious about tackling the housing crisis, we'd be slashing zoning laws, cutting stamp duty and ending the absurd restrictions on land release. The greatest thing this government could do to solve the housing crisis is to have a 5-year pause on all zoning and planning laws in this state. Good one for you, Mr Shadow Minister. Approve all DAs for a 5-year period. Some mistakes will be made in a laissez-faire property market, but we'd have lots more housing, prices would come down and rents would come down. The policy would be such a roaring success that after 5 years there will be marches out in Macquarie Street demanding that it become permanent. The President of Argentina, Javier Milei, has been in power. Thank you, has been in power for around half the time as this government in New South Wales. Milei's libertarian reforms to the property market have resulted in a, wait for it Mr President, a 200% rise in the housing supply and a 20% decrease in real rental prices. That's called success, Mr President. Despite a surging economy, house prices have become less expensive. Best of all, he didn't have to fork out $5 billion in taxpayer funds to achieve this. He just had to step out of the way. Now, I know it's hard for some to accept that sometimes the best thing for the state to do is nothing. Central planning caused nothing but suffering in the Soviet Union, and central planning in the New South Wales property market will only have negative consequences.
It's easy to give a speech in this place about economic theory and Thatcherite economics and trash public housing as some do-gooder for the undeserving poor. I ask members, say it to the face of people like Lucy, who I met, who is a public housing tenant, just moved into a new development in Marrickville. She is a hard-working single mum, escaping a violent relationship, was living in a private rental, in the private rental market. The landlord put her rent up by $300.
Mr President, the Libertarian Party moves this amendment because at our core we believe in private property rights. We believe that compulsory acquisition erodes private property rights and expands the culture of abusive state power. The state has to accept its limits. The state has to respect private property rights. Compulsory acquisitions are currently really only used under state-significant development, state-significant infrastructure powers in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. Quite often, but not always, these powers are used to build mines, highways, energy infrastructure and other major projects, but that is not the case here. If this bill passes in its current form, then the government will have the power to gobble up whatever land it desires, give the private owners a questionable sum under the Just Terms Act, and build ugly government housing at a slower pace and for more money. My amendment simply removes the powers which are contained in Schedule 1, Section 35C. I would urge all to vote against the bill regardless, but especially not with this dangerous section still lingering in what is already bad legislation. And while I've got the floor, Mr Deputy President, the Minister mentioned the anecdote about Lucy, but the key was a 300% increase in rent. What's causing that, Minister? Government policies like this. The key is to downward pressure on rent, and only the free market will do that. Thank you.